Hey guys, so watch this video if you are considering starting a diet, whether it's Slimming World, Weight Watchers, keto, intermittent fasting, Herbalife, Juice Plus, whatever. And so in this video, I'm going to be giving you a list of checkpoints to check off, to kind of assess with yourself, to ask yourself whether this diet is going to work for you long term, and whether it's going to get you results. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to be giving you a unique opportunity to get some extra help with your goal. So the how do I know if this diet is good checklist. So I'm going to be going over 5 points that I think are essential to get results long term with your weight loss and to reach your ultimate goal. So number 1 is, of course, food. So being able to eat in a sustainable way, which puts you into calorie deficit, so eating less than your body needs, and helps keep you full at the same time, while also including foods you enjoy and also getting the nutrients you need into your body. So that is number 1. So it's really important to have something that is sustainable, because a lot of diets out there, yes, they help you lose weight, but it's usually a very sort of willpower and forced weight loss, where it's not able to be continued long term and it's very unsustainable. So I wouldn't say that's like a very good thing, even though at the time you consider it great because you're losing weight. I always ask yourself, like, how sustainable is this diet? Am I hungry? Am I getting the nutrients into my body? Am I including foods that I actually enjoy and want to eat? Am I thinking towards the future where I can stop this diet and eat things I want to? If those kind of thoughts come into your mind, that's not sustainable. And if there are days of the week where you can't do the diet, or times when you can't do the diet, like going out or in certain situations that you might not be at home, or when you're with friends or something, or you're not able to know what's in the food, are you still able to do the diet? Because if not, then it's unsustainable as well, because there will be days or times when you're not doing it, which is a very black and white mindset. And if you're on and off the diet all the time, you're never going to get results. So it's really important to have that sustainability, long-term diet that works for you every day of the year, but also keeps you full, gets the nutrients in, and includes foods that you do enjoy. So the second key is to solve and fix emotional eating. So however you would like to label it, emotional eating, cravings, urges, compulsions, binge eating, it's all similar behavior. It's basically violating the promises you make to yourself around food. So you think one thing, but then you're pulled back in the other direction. So it's a bit like the devil coming out on your shoulder and whispering in your ear until you actually do the thing that you didn't want to do. But you don't know how to get rid of that uncomfortable feeling until you do it. So it's like, oh, eat the chocolate, eat the chocolate. No, I'm not going to do that. And it's eat the chocolate, eat the chocolate. And then you don't know how to get rid of that until you actually eat the chocolate. And you have a little bit sometimes as well. And then it's like, oh, eat some more. That's really nice. We don't know when we're going to get the next chance to have some more. So just eat all of it. And you kind of lose control. It's a bit like, as well, pushing a big boulder up a hill. So if you imagine like a steep hill, you're pushing the boulder and you want to go forward with all the healthy eating and losing weight, but it's like pushing back at you. And as soon as you take a rest as well, it might even flatten you and roll back over you and come back down the hill and you go backwards. And you don't want it to be like that. You want it to be flat. You want the boulder even maybe to go downhill. So imagine pushing the boulder downhill. You don't even need to push. That's how a diet should be. So it should be kind of free flowing, all going in the same direction. And the thoughts you have around food being congruent with your values and what you want. So eating in a healthy way, including things you enjoy, but making it easy by having the boulder going down the hill rather than being pushed back at you all the whole time, which of course is very draining, and then obviously links back into everything else, like, oh, I'm hungry, or I get more cravings, things like that. So number 2, making sure you solve emotional eating. Key number 3 is working on motivation. So most people wait for motivation to happen, and they consider motivation something that is just going to be there. However, motivation can be conditioned, and it should be conditioned, because of course it's never going to be just there when you want it if you just hope for it, right? And the other point on this is that most people are driven by what they don't want. So their emotional or physical pain. So what I mean by that is I don't want to be fat anymore. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to look like this. I don't want to have low confidence. These are all emotional pains. And so it's great to be aware of why you want to change. But the problem with this is as you make progress, so say you lose a bit of weight, those emotional pains go down because you feel better. And so the motivation goes away or goes down. So it's easy to slip back into old habits. And so you make a little bit of progress along your journey and then the motivation goes down. You slip back into old habits and you go back to how you were before, which is not great. So you need to condition motivation and also condition positive motivation to what we call towards motivation, what you actually want. So most people are only vaguely aware of what they want and not necessarily driven every day by it. So it's very, very important to be driven by this positive motivation as well. So as the motivation goes down from feeling better, from losing weight, the motivation goes up from getting all the things you really wanted in your life, and it makes you get up every day with the drive to continue doing that. Another part of motivation is the short-term and long-term. So most people as well are driven by the daily short-term motivations. And this is natural because as humans, we're driven to survive by looking out for things and feeling good and getting away from bad things in the moment. However, with a goal of weight loss, this is not in the moment, it is a long-term thing. So rather than the short-term motivation driven by the desire for food and the desire to sit down and relax and be comfortable, we want to be driven by our goal. So what are the consequences of not doing it? And what are the great things that are going to happen when we do get that goal? And being very aware and condition yourself to look at these long-term motivations rather than the short-term daily fluctuations which push and pull you around and make you make the wrong decisions. So motivation is very, very important. So key number 4 is getting rid of negative emotions, conflicts, and limiting beliefs. So negative emotions to start with, these are not useful because having negative emotions does not help us solve problems. We don't solve the problem with the negative emotion, and having negative emotions in daily life obviously is very draining and holds us back. So it's a bit like the boulder again. So pushing a boulder up a hill, things are pushing back on you and draining you and not helping you with your goal. So the 5 major negative emotions: anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, which again, when you're feeling a certain way, it feeds back into emotional eating as well, because a lot of people use eating to solve the way they feel, which is obviously not going to help your goal. The next thing is the conflicts. So there's always going to be conflicts in your life when you have a goal, because there's things that are beneficial to where you are at the moment. So simple things like a fear of failure. So this is something that you might not be aware of, like consciously, but if you failed on your diet a lot of times, then you're going to be unconsciously thinking, what if I fail again? And so is it even worth trying? And if I do fail again, what does that say about me? So it feeds back into this self-worth thing. And sometimes it kind of holds you back because you're not fully in on what you're doing, because you don't want to affect your self-worth, because what if I do fail again? And what's that say about me? And how is that going to make me feel? It's not worth trying. I'd rather just stay where I am. So that's an example of conflict, and it's very important to go over these. And also limiting beliefs. So like the phrase says, limiting beliefs, a belief is not necessarily true. So things you may hold inside, beliefs that hold you back as well. So things like, I don't want to be thin because thin people are arrogant, or things like, my family are big boned, or family are overweight, so I can't lose weight. Things like that, which you kind of believe, but actually, when you ask yourself, is this actually true? Or is it actually true for everyone? And am I not actually achieving results because of that? Another common one is, if I lose weight, I won't be able to enjoy myself, which of course, again, it's just a belief. Plenty of people that are at their goal weight enjoy themselves and are happy. So again, these things need to be kind of looked at. And if these things are holding you back, it's very important to actually solve them. And the final one, number 5, is positive accountability from someone who has a proven system that's worked for other people in the same situation as you. And someone that can kind of reassure you on your journey So making sure you're doing the right thing and reassuring you of that. So for example, those days where you may step on the scale and it doesn't say the number you expected or you want it to, and in the past, it might have made you stop the diet, whereas having this person for accountability can explain to you that maybe you have some water retention and maybe you are still getting results, but you can't see them because they're masked by the scale, and just continue doing what you're doing, and the next week you will see results. And so keeping you going forward, and also some accountability on, are you doing the daily tasks that you said you would do? Have you done them? Or if you haven't, what's stopping you? What are the barriers? How can we make them easier? Moving you forward step by step to that goal. So accountability is very important. And I've seen in some diet programs that they have some kind of accountability, but it's more guilt-based. And obviously this doesn't help because you're guilted into trying to change. So, oh, why haven't you done this? Or you should be doing better. It doesn't look like you're trying hard enough. Look at all these great people that are doing better than you, which of course, that is not great and it makes you feel terrible, which can link back into emotional eating, self-worth, things like that. And yeah, that's not gonna help you at all with reaching your long-term goals. So that's it. When you are choosing a diet, you can cross-reference this checklist. And I've included it in the description so you can quickly see it at a glance. So let's take an example now, compare a diet to this list, check it off, see what it covers. So I've chosen Slimming World, just a random popular diet out there. Let's see how Slimming World compares to this list. So Slimming World with step 1, food. So does Slimming World help you be in a calorie deficit? Does it help eat less than your body needs? The answer for that is sometimes, depends on the person. Because of the way the diet is set up, there's free foods which you can eat as much as you want. So if the person is not good at tuning into their hunger, or the skills and knowledge around food of how you put on weight is not there, then it's very easy to still overeat. So depending on the person, some people do lose weight in the short term, and with Slimming World, it all depends on how much you're eating of those free foods and whether you are sticking to your sins. So the sins are the limited foods. And so does it help keep you full? Again, it depends on what you're choosing to eat within that, because it's quite a big range. And again, if you're not full, you can end up overeating on the sins. And does it help you get the nutrients into your body? So I've seen a few Slimming World examples of people's diets when they post it on Instagram. And I'd say that quite a lot of the time, it's very bland food and it's not including enough vegetables for vitamins and minerals. So you have to be very careful with this, because you're going to be very tired and not get the nutrients you need to have a fit and healthy body otherwise. And including foods you enjoy. So a lot of people, because of the sin system, kind of pick things that fit into the sins rather than things that they really enjoy, because the things that they really enjoy are a lot of sins. So they'd rather have a lot of things that they kind of half like, or a Slimming World sort of listed food, rather than something that might have more sins. And also, there's some controversial things on the sin list. So a popular one that's mentioned is bananas. So banana is classed as something you have to limit, but only in certain situations. So if you eat the banana whole, it's not, but if you mash it, it is, which kind of doesn't make sense. Anyway, that is a side note. So with point number 1, food, I'm gonna give it a half, like a 0.5. So it's not necessarily very sustainable because of some of these things. Sometimes you can be in a calorie deficit, sometimes you can't. So I'm gonna give Slimming World like a half point on the food. And just a little extra point on this, I was speaking to someone the other day about Slimming World and their friends getting medals for losing a lot of weight on Slimming World, but then completely rebounding when they relax a bit. So that kind of indicates how even if you can lose weight for maybe a year on the diet, you can still rebound, and it's not sustainable long term because you have to be totally on it, which is going back to the pushing up the hill with the boulder. You don't want to have a diet which is completely pushing back on you all the time. And as soon as you kind of forget something or relax or have a bad day or are tired, you end up rebounding and kind of going back to old habits. You just don't want that. You want something that's more sustainable, that works for you easier in the long term. So point number 2, emotional eating. Does Slimming World work on fixing emotional eating? Nope, it doesn't. So for those that don't know, emotional eating is a mental wiring issue rather than a food issue. So unless they actually work on the mind to basically rewire it to stop that emotional eating, you are still going to have those emotional eating cravings, binges, things like that. And in actual fact, the way they do the food sometimes links back into making emotional eating worse. Point number 3, motivation. Does Slimming World teach you how to condition motivation? Does it teach you about yo-yo dieting? Nope, it doesn't. So that one is a big no as well. And number 4, does Slimming World work with negative emotions? Does it work with conflicts or limiting beliefs? A big no as well. So none of that is worked on. And number 5, accountability. Is there accountability? I mentioned this before. So there is some accountability going to the clubs or online, but after speaking to a lot of people, there's a lot of negativity around the accountability from Slimming World. And unless you're doing as well as the other people, or you're not losing what they said, then you're guilted into doing better. And the people that are working there are not qualified in nutrition, so they don't know why you might not be losing weight. You're just told, try harder. Why aren't you doing it? You must be eating something in secret, kind of things like that, which don't help at all with accountability, and they don't help pushing you towards your goal. It doesn't solve any problems for you. So, Slimming World, out of 5, I'm going to give the accountability a 0.5 as well, because there is some there. Can't say there isn't. So we got half for number 1, the food, and a half for the accountability. So that gives us a 1. And by the way, unless any diet gets a 5 out of 5, it's not going to work long term. We need all 5 points covered. So 1 out of 5 gives Slimming World a big fail in this area. Yes, half for food, half for accountability, but no emotional eating fix, no conditioning motivation, and no working on negative emotions, conflicts, and limiting beliefs. So only 1 out of 5, big fail. It's not going to be sustainable. Yes, you can lose weight in the short term, not in the long term. As I mentioned, people get medals for losing weight on Slimming World, and then when you go back to them, oh, they put all the weight back on. Why is it? Because of these points. So that's why it's so important to look at these points. And even if you are doing the diet and it's going well for you, being aware that if these points are not covered at some point, excuse the pun, but then something's going to happen where the weight is going to come back on, because you need to have these things. Like, they're essential to reaching the goal. And you may seem like you're getting results at certain points, but at some point the weight will come back on, because it's not solving the problem as a whole. It's just trying to force you to lose weight. And as soon as you slip, as soon as something goes on, because you don't have the motivation, because you don't have the emotional eating solved, because you don't have the negative emotions, conflicts, and limiting beliefs sorted out, then all these things come back and like push against you, push you back in the other direction. So that's it. That's the checklist for whether a diet is good or not. And guys, I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I would be giving you some extra help at the end. And so what I have for you is an amazing opportunity to get some extra help for your goal, for reaching your goal, from me, who has worked on all these 5 points to help people reach their goals for long-term weight loss, for reaching their ultimate goals. So if you would like some extra help with your diet, I put a link in the description below to book in with me, to speak to me about your problem, and for me to ask you some questions and see if I can help you. No promises, but of course, speaking to you more about your problem, I can understand what it is you need more and what it is you are doing or not doing, and we can kind of get some clarity on why what you've done in the past might not have worked for you. So that is the offer for you today. So down there in the link below, completely free. So if you would like that, before I might take it down in the future, depending on how many people take that offer up, click in the description down there below.
I do not feel any guilt spending this money on myself whatsoever, because it has been the best investment I've ever made. Because it's not just going to be for these 12 weeks. I'm going to take this on for the rest of my life. I'm going to carry it on past my wedding, because it's just been so worthwhile, and yeah, it's been the best thing I've ever signed up for.
But I've never been the kind of person who will just wander around in next to nothing or anything like that. Whereas now I am.
Like, like I said, I've done a lot of these types of things before, and this is the only one where, you know, post 12, 13 weeks, I'd actually be, well, and I will be, following it myself moving forward.
It's about £15. I feel much more confident. I feel like it's a real achievement, and I also feel like it's sustainable.
Obviously, I'm ecstatic now. I feel great every day. I don't have like to worry about food. Like whereas before it would be constantly on my mind, like, oh my God, what am I going to eat for breakfast? Or, oh, what am I going to have for dinner? And now it would just be my running commentary in my head throughout the day.
I literally can't wait. I did not want to take my wedding dress off on Sunday. When I said yes, I was like, just literally stood in it for half an hour. And she kept saying, oh, well, do you want to take it off yet? No. So she just kept going away.
That's exactly what we've done. So what we probably, over the past kind of 12 weeks, I've probably lost around, I think it's just over a stone, wasn't it? And then, but in terms of centimetres, it was like, what, 50 odd centimetres? And for me, that's what matters.
And like my partner, my family and friends, they've all noticed the change as well. They say that I'm like a lot happier. I want to do things more, go out, you know, whereas before I would think twice about maybe doing something social.
It's very different now. My emotions and my food are two completely different things in my life. They don't interlink whatsoever.
So I was like, okay, I've got a major issue here. So I'd be surprised if a 12-week programme can always fix that. But actually, I found that after kind of like the week, like, because you split over a few weeks, isn't it? So after kind of like the first session that we had on it, I already saw a change in how I was interacting.
1000% happy that I did it. 1000% happy that I did it. I can't, I'm still blown away. Like, I can't, it just doesn't make sense to me how, like, the amount of inches especially that I've lost.
My whole life has changed, really, in terms of health, fitness, energy, everything.
Yeah, it's not just about weight loss, it's about your overall kind of well-being as a person. And I would spend every penny. Every penny is worth it.
So that is it for today, guys. So like, comment as well. How many of these things have you done with your diet? Is it number 1? Is it number 2? Whatever. Let me know in the comments below. Which one do you think are missing from your diet? Let me know. And subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you in the next video.